Hi, my name is Dev,
And my name is Norah.
and we are from Los Angeles, California, and now we
We
live,
live in the Silver Coast of Portugal.
and we've been here for a few months, and currently I'm retired learning the language.
And as a retired acupuncturist, I am enjoying getting to practice my Tai Chi and some of my relaxation exercises.
Our lives have changed since moving to Portugal just in terms of the pace. I wanted to, when I was finishing up my career or wanting to slow down a little bit, I always knew that I wanted to return to Europe. I'd grown up as a military brat, and so being in Europe as an adult was something that I always wanted to do. And we visited Portugal about a few years ago, and I kind of got a connection and said, "This is something that I think I want to do." And after kind of crunching the numbers and deciding that the time was right, moving to Portugal was a huge undertaking, but quite fun, and it's been quite exciting. There have been challenges along the way. I don't know if you wanted to talk to those, Nora, about some of the challenges that you have faced, but it certainly was a quite a smooth process of just getting up and going, especially retiring and leaving here.
Having a lot less to do is surprisingly tricky. Like this retirement thing, it's actually kind of tricky because I have all this free time. And there have been things that I've wanted to do for years, but I don't have, like, there's no schedule dictated. I don't have to get up and go to work. So I take Portuguese lessons, I practice my Tai Chi, I actually have time to read a book, Radical Notion. And so it's interesting having to make that adjustment in pace. It's just really different from the way I've lived for years as a working individual. So it's a good thing, but it's definitely an adjustment. And I was surprised by how difficult it was to kind of set up a daily routine when you don't have to have a daily routine. And then the other thing about Portugal that I'm noticing, and I suppose it's kind of a type of culture shock, but even the small everyday things are an adventure. Like going to the doctor and checking in at the kiosk, and do you hit the right button? And maybe yes, maybe no. And then you'll find out later when you get to the counter. Um, Luckily, the experience I think that we've had is, even despite the language barrier, we promise we're trying to speak Portuguese. But the Portuguese people, I can't think of a single example where somebody hasn't been warm and friendly and really sympathetic with us trying to speak Portuguese and trying to speak English to us and make the whole interaction work. So I feel like the pace is different, the sense of community is different, and it is an adjustment, and it's not always easy. But overall, I really feel like it's worth it.
I'd have to agree with all of that. Our biggest concern coming to Portugal was what was the culture going to be like, learning the language, were we going to fit in? And some of those things were a big concern, but I think one of the things that Portugal The Place did help out with is that there are so many things out there on the internet that can get kind of muddied, and you hear all different types of stories and hear all different things that you want to do. But what that Portugal The Place did was it kind of put things in perspective, and I think that was one of the big things that it helped out with during our initial move to Portugal.
And I think one of my biggest concerns was knowing that there's a whole bureaucratic process if you're wanting to move to Portugal. And in combination with that, there's a language barrier, and you need appropriate translations of things, and you need to make sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and there may be processes that you don't know about. In Portugal, The Place was instrumental in making sure we had what we needed when we moved, to find a place, to make sure the lease was registered correctly, and all those things would be in line when we needed them later for the bureaucratic process of moving to another country.
Absolutely.
You know, the question about safety, especially as a woman, is an interesting question because I don't think, since I moved to Portugal, that has even occurred to me. It's not like I've had a moment like I have in the States, where there's always kind of a sense of vigilance. I feel very, very safe where we live. I feel very safe walking down the street. And even as a lesbian couple together, obviously together as a lesbian couple, I don't think I've had any moment where I felt unsafe or judged or in any type of precarious situation.
And also just to kind of, and this might be funny in certain sense, but as a Black woman, a lot of times walking into stores in the States, I felt like people were watching or taking a look at what I was doing. And I have to say that being here, I don't feel that sense of looking over my shoulder or explaining my presence. And add that into, again, I would echo the same sentiment that you have with as a lesbian couple, holding hands seems to be fine. Nobody really cares. And it's not like we're left to be like in a gay ghetto, like in the States where we could only be out in certain areas or of town or certain places. None of that. Again, I felt very relaxed here, very comfortable, very safe here where we are living.